This is my anode tube or bar or rod replacement at Woodbury on my Bradford White 80 or 75 gallon hot water heater. This was installed in 2009. That was installed in February of 2009, and it is now December of 2017. And the only reason I'm installing this is because I did my research, because we're starting to get rusty water only in our hot water. And I learned that you should be actually checking your anode tube every year roughly to check it out. And it depends on what you have. And we have a water softener in place. And so you should be checking that so that that tube can get sacrificed, as they call it. And because the water will attack it instead of attacking the liner of your tank. And so right now we've got a fair amount of rust in the tank that we're trying to get rid of. And so we're going to see if this resolves this. I've never taken one of these out before. So what I've done is I've actually turned on or turned off the water into the tank. And I've relieved a couple of gallons of water out into the drain, and then I have a hot water faucet that's close in this here bathroom that's behind me here. I've got that turned on right now so it alleviates any pressure that I've got. And so on my particular unit, then this in here, it actually had a little gasket or a little rubber or some kind of plug here, just a little caulk plug that I had to pull out. They were lucky enough that they identified it with the word anode on there and never really knew what that meant. So I actually went in and dug out the insulation in there enough. In my reviews, a lot of people were talking about you'll never get it broken with a breaker bar, and you're going to need something to pry the thing open with. We have a cabin that we'll be doing the same exact thing on, and that particular water heater was installed in 1996, so I'm thinking I need something. So I've actually got an impact wrench that I'm bringing in as well. But this particular one, I was actually able to get it to move without any issues. But I'm curious about with my impact wrench what I'll need. So I've got that going on right now, and I'm going to pull the thing out. I went to our home supply store, Menards, and they have a flexible unit. So they have actually a flexible replacement. You can buy the standard lengths, and apparently these are fairly the tops are 1, the head is 1 1/16, which is a standard apparently, and then you can just cut these to length if you need them, and if you get another bar you can cut them to length as well. So, and then there's also a couple of different kinds of these. There's magnesium ones, and there are aluminum ones, and then there's some hybrids. From what I read is that the aluminum ones are more they last longer in soft water. So if you got a water softener, which we do, you'd be better to get an aluminum one versus a magnesium or zinc one. And so that's kind of, it sounds like it was just a choice. The aluminum ones seem to go faster in hard water versus soft water. So that's at least what I read. So we've got that, and then you can just cut it to length. Sounds like the length really isn't a huge deal. You just don't want to cut off any more than you need to, because you lose the value of what this thing does for you. So the less of it in there, the less value you got. So we've done that. Now I'm actually going to pull this thing out and see what it looks like after 9 years. Now the reason that I did these, just so you know, I didn't say that earlier, is that the reason that these are out here and it's a unit that looks like this versus just a straight bar is because if you've got a situation where you can't get a bar in, a replacement bar, because the bars can be anywhere between 36 inches and 54 inches from what I looked at, you wouldn't be able to get a new bar in and make the bend. So what they've got, they came up with these here segmented pieces, and some of them are screwed together. This one here is on a rod or on a cable that it's done, and so that way you can get them, and you can get them dropped down in there without having any issues. So that's why that's there. And so I'm actually at a spot right now where I've gotten it loosened up, and I am going to pull it out. And right now this should be, according to the manufacturer's specifications, this is supposed to be about, well, anywhere, depending on which one I put in, depending on which spec sheet I see on it, anywhere between 44 inches and 36 inches roughly on my particular unit. And I can tell you right now from just feeling on it, I don't have any left at all. So no wonder I have rust in my unit. So right now I've got nothing. So there is my replacement, of which this particular one is 54 inches long, and I've got nothing. So mine has totally sacrificed itself, and thus the reason I've got rust. So I'm going to do a little bit more here. So now what I've done is I've just pushed this down inside of there. There was a little bit of buildup down below, so I had to kind of push it down in. But all the 4 lengths are down in, and it's just going down in there. And then I'm going to screw it back in and tighten it back up for what it is. And I want to make sure I don't get any more excess stuff in there in the tank, because I don't have to. And so then I also, from what I've read, is that when I'm done, because right now I dropped off a couple of gallons, so I should be down about yay as far as where I'm at with my water level, is that I want to actually drain this thing all the way out. And this is a separate piece than replacing this, but some of the stuff has said, hey, if you've got rust in your tank, this is the best way to do it. So shut your water off, run the tank all the way down, and then once it's all the way down, then turn the water on and flush it a couple of times. So don't fill it all the way back up. Just use that water, because what happens is there is the pipe that comes in here and goes down. I think it's called a drip line or a dip line, and it goes down about to here, and then it squirts out the water straight down below. So it'll actually stir up whatever's down in the bottom of that tank, and then through my out pipe here, my out hose, it'll actually run it down, and I'll run it right out and run it down to my drain. So that's what I'm going to do now. So now what I've done is mine has, my screw has a little, it's hard to see it back here. Mine just has a little flathead, and I just have to put my hose on and turn the little flathead to get it to open. Some of them actually have a handle for what they are, and you can just turn the handle. And so now I'm just going to drain this all out here and drain it down to nothing, so I run the water in it. As far as then, I'm going to burst the cold water on it a couple times and see if I can stir up whatever's on the bottom there. Another thing I wanted to point out, and I don't remember which one, so I apologize for that, is that I read somewhere where on the anode tubes that the ones that have a bump on the top, or a little, like a little outer thing like this here, if you can see where it's kind of got a little raise to it versus being totally flat across, that actually is a sign of whether or not it's an aluminum or magnesium or zinc one type thing. So it's one or the other. So if you're feeling around, and again, from what I get out of this and what I've read, is that these tubes are they're very uniform. You may go in and find that, there's different sizes and different things like that. The sizing, from what I understand, is basically just the fact of, and sizing meaning they all have the same size head, and they may have some different thicknesses of the tubes themselves, of the bar, and then it's the length. And so really the only thing is the length, and you're just trying to make sure you get one that you can shove in if you're doing one solid bar. But you can cut them wherever you want. So it's just a matter of taking it out, and if you're putting in and you've got enough room to put in one of the cheaper ones, because this particular one that I put in, this segmented one, was about $40 for me. And you can buy them. I saw them for 35 or 36, but the solid bars were anywhere between $15 and $25 for what you got, depending on their length. And so you could just cut them. So if you can make it fit in there, you can just buy a solid straight bar. And then if you can make the bend and get it to get down into the hole, I only have about 2 feet of clearance, so I couldn't get one of the 36 or 44 inch bars to go. So that's why I had to do this. So. But you can actually just cut them. So the bars are really uniform. So it isn't where you've got to worry about your part numbers and model numbers to get them in there. They all have a 1 1/16 head. It's whether or not it's a magnesium or an aluminum, and either one will work. It's just that one works a little better in a soft water versus hard water situation. And then it's just the length of making sure that you can get it inside of the tank. And if it's too long, just bring it out and cut some of it off with a hacksaw. and then just shove it back in there, because all this is, the pipe in and of itself isn't anything fabulous. It's just something in there that the water can corrode